this is your money, but don't do this. Don't do it. Don't do it. No, no, no. What are we doing here? Welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. This is Boost My Build, the series where we take your PC build lists, we tear them up, we put them back together and massively increase your performance. And man, we've got two crazy builds for this episode. We have a $600 Ryzen upgrade. That's why we're going to take an older Ryzen system and see if we can breeze some life into it for $600. And we've got a $900 1440p gaming PC that is stuck in 1080p land and can't get out. Can we help them? If you get value out of this video, give it a like, so it makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, subscribe, click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. With that, let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by Micro Center, my favorite tech place on earth. Micro Center has 26 US store locations with new stores opening in 2024. Micro Center's May top deals are insane, like this Ryzen 7800X 3D combo with mid-range B650 motherboard and 32 gigabytes of fast DDR5 RAM for just $479. Or grab this powerful mid-range combo with the i5 12600KF Z690 motherboard and 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM for just $249. And right now, new in-store customers can take an additional $25 off any CPU. Check out the great deals using the links in the video description. All right, we've got SZIP, and the reason I picked this one is because we're kind of in a weird time right now. We're waiting for some announcements and everything. I decided to pick a Boost My upgrade. We do this every so often. I think it's a great time right now for a lot of folks who want to reassess their rig, and that's exactly what SZIP is doing. The current build that they're using, and then they've also included the upgrade list that they want. But here's the thing, they're aware of the issue they're currently facing with their PC. I don't even know what that is. You got to tell me. Just looking it over to give an overall health update, since the motherboard, cooler, and storage are severely updated. So we're not happy with the motherboard, the cooler, or the storage. Your PC friend recommended the upgrade above, but you wanted our opinion. Their main games right now, they're playing Rainbow Six Siege, average 200 to 300 FPS. Okay, we obviously hopefully have a high-end GPU. Destiny 2, that's 180 to 250 FPS. And their budget for the upgrade is $500 to $600. This happens to a lot of people. They're like, I don't have enough for a full PC build, but can I take this amount of money that I have and can I basically refresh my PC to get a better experience? So let's see what you got. Okay, let's jump into it. And I'm not really sure where we're going with this. I definitely see issues. I definitely see issues with this build right now. Just ignore all the pricing stuff because I didn't want to go in here and zero everything out, but this is your current PC. So you own all this stuff right now. Let's go through it. You have a Ryzen 5800X 3D. So you've already upgraded this PC at least once, because we'll go to the motherboard next. Great CPU on AM4. I absolutely love it, but you already own it. We're cooling that with the AMD Wraith Prism. Absolutely adequate cooler. I suspect you had like a Ryzen, 1700X, 1800X on this, because we have a B350 motherboard. A lot of people are like, what is a B350 motherboard? It's one of the first Ryzen motherboards that came out. Now, I will say this is a pretty good motherboard. This is the MSI Gaming Pro Carbon. The VRMs on this are adequate. They're decent enough, especially for like a 5800X 3D. The big challenge with these motherboards, first of all, PCIe Gen 3, which is fine, but only one M.2 slot on. A lot of these didn't even have M.2 slots as I can recall, but this was a higher end one. So it has one M.2 slot, has upgraded audio on it as well. So I don't really want to get rid of this motherboard. The rear panel, I will say a lot of these red ports that you would typically think are USB 3.2 Gen 2, I think they're USB 3.1 Gen 1. I might be wrong about that, but these days you probably see these colored blue on the back of a motherboard because the faster speed ports didn't exist when you bought this motherboard. So this was the fast one, basically. But still, a decent amount of rear I/O on this thing. The RAM, you've got the T-Force Delta 3600 CL18, same speed basically as 3200 CL16. Interesting that we got I think probably upgraded this RAM. This RAM I would not have recommended with older Ryzen CPUs. They just never could hit anything clocked above 3200. So obviously we got this recently, perfectly adequate for a 5800X 3D. The storage situation, kind of just generally what I expect to see in a build that's already been upgraded once. So we got a 1 terabyte hard drive. Obviously we used to build with hard drives, no big deal. And then we've got the 120 gigabyte SSD. So probably at some point in the past, we had this was our system boot drive, right? And then we have everything on the hard drive. That's what we used to do kind of in the olden days, or not even that long ago. And in the meantime, it looks like you've updated that M.2 and you've added a 500 gigabyte Crucial P3 drive. 500 gigs probably starting to feel a little tight in 2024, but you don't know where to go right now because I think this is what you were talking about, the limitations of your motherboard. You don't have any more M.2 slots. There are ways around that we should talk about, but let's talk about your GPU here because you have the RTX 3060 Ti 8 gigabyte. And unfortunately, I just feel like this is one of those GPUs that kind of was a fool's errand. We didn't know it. I had this in my kind of Premier build that was sat next to me on the channel for a long time because only 8 gigs of VRAM. I think in 2024, if we're going to spend $500 to $600, I want to see what you want to do with a GPU. I would think about upgrading it. And then of course we've got the PC case, which does scream 2017 to me. The airflow on this thing, not terrible. There's certainly a lot worse cases from that era. I'll actually say this is actually a kind of a more nicer case because it did even have that top airflow vent. A lot of them were just completely plastic, has the side vents on the side here. But I could definitely see that we might have some overheating issues with it. It does look like you also updated your PSU recently. You got the Corsair RM750E. Great PSU, gonna give us a good foundation to build on. This is A tier rated. All right, we're jumping into your proposed upgrades here, and I've zeroed things out that you've already owned. And let me tell you this, this is your money, but don't do this. Don't do it. Don't do it. No, no, no. What are we doing here? I don't understand. We're spending a lot of money to basically upgrade our SSD, and that's it. And we're going to get a nicer case and some other things. There's like no performance going into this PC other than an SSD upgrade, which we could do for like $10 instead of what we're doing here. First of all, you're keeping the RTX 3060 Ti 8 gigabyte GPU, which kind of boggles my mind. The 5800X3D will take a much faster GPU. It's basically similar performance to the Ryzen 7600, so you don't have to worry about it hitting a wall like some of the Ryzen 5000 CPUs or older 12th gen and locked Intel CPUs do. They just hit a wall. But with the 5800X3D, generally don't have to worry about that. So I was really expecting to see some kind of GPU upgrade because you're probably playing at 1080p, like low settings right now. Wouldn't you love to jump up to 1440p, even if you can't afford the monitor right now, get the frame rates at 1080p right now, and then eventually, for like $180 right now, you can get a 1440p gaming monitor. It's pretty dang good. So I'm a little surprised to see this still here. And instead, what I'm just boggling my mind is why we are investing $300 in a X570 motherboard. $300. Yes, it looks super shiny. And honestly, I don't know why it's $300. Oh, you can't even get it right now. It's $249 used. No, we are not doing this. You want the MSI MPG X570 Gaming Edge Wi-Fi. At one time, I would have possibly recommended this motherboard, or I gotta tell you, I hated the X570s, especially with these chipset fans here. What do you do if the chipset fan fails? What do you do? It starts making a lot of noise or something like that. I just don't recommend these. At this point, I would get the X570S if I was even going to get an X570, which I would not. It's got what, 2 M.2s on it. I don't see another M.2. So you're only adding an additional M.2. It's got the same audio solution on it. Yes, it's got Wi-Fi in it, but big effing deal. Who cares about that? And I'm sure the rear panel, it's probably got faster speed ports and things like that, but it didn't seem like that's the problem. It seems like our storage is the problem. And we're spending $300. What we could have gotten is a $10 storage upgrade card instead and added that into our existing build. The rest of the build here, it looks like you're also gonna go from a 500 gigabyte to a 1 terabyte drive. I don't know why we're doing that. $70 seems a little silly. Seems like you're like, oh, I have 2 M.2s now. I'll get a 1 terabyte, and then I'll spend $145 on a Gen 4. And this is probably why you're getting the X570 board. 2 terabytes for $145. I would go Gen 3 here. There's no gaming benefit to Gen 4 over Gen 3, other than you're burning $45 basically, because you can get the other drives for about $100. Check out our best SSD video. We go through this in some detail. I'd love that you want to kind of bling your system out. That's great. I don't know why the Cooler Master Master Liquid ML240L RGB right now is, because this is the older model. I think what you've accidentally done is you picked out the older model that's probably sold by just a third-party seller or whatever. Decent enough cooler, but not for $99. There's better coolers out there. In fact, from Cooler Master, I think they have the next version of this for like 20 or 30 bucks less. So let's just kind of take a step back with the cooler there. And then finally, you're gonna go with the NZXT H6 Flow. I knew there had to be some kind of like Corsair or NZXT or something virus in here. This time it's the H6 Flow. Now it's only $101. This is the non-RGB one, by the way. So it's got the 3 fans here. Maybe you're just gonna pull some fans out of your existing case. I don't know. You do need another fan here. And then you're gonna have your all-in-one liquid cooler likely on the top of this thing. We're spending a lot of money though, because if I look at this thing, you're way over your budget. You said $500 to $600. You're at $715, and we have a 0% improvement in our FPS. It's just hard to understand why we want to spend that much money, and we're only really adding what, 2.5 gigs of storage space? Yes, we're gonna kind of bling it up a little bit. It just seems like a lot of money to spend, and we could do way better, and we could get you some more performance. I called this the welcome back to 1440p gaming upgrade, because we're gonna bring a PC that at one point was considered a 1440p upgrade or PC. We're gonna bring it back into 1440p land in 2024. And we're gonna do it by upgrading the GPU. Spoiler alert. I will say right now something odd is going on as I'm filming this. $626.96 is where I finished out. However, moments ago, this was under $600. It seems what happened is Newegg has pulled all their promo codes. It's the middle of the day on a Tuesday as I'm filming this. So maybe they're just switching them out right now, but that's what we're dealing with right now. So I do believe we will finish under your budget right now of $600 once those promo codes come back. But let's jump into the upgrades because they are super exciting. I went with the ASRock Challenger RX 7700 XT 12GB GPU, which again, moments ago was $379, but now it's $399, and I suspect that price will go back to $379, fingers crossed. And it's a great GPU. If it doesn't, I would rather pick up the Sapphire Pulse RX 7700 XT because it's a slightly better GPU. It's a slightly better model, better cooler on it. And that's the one I would get. If you do have to spend $399 on this, I suspect you won't. But let's talk about the performance level. Why are we doing this? Well, here's the TechSpot RX 7600 XT review from January. So relatively fresh data. And if you check out the 3060 Ti, that's what you have right now. It's not bad in terms of 1440p as long as you don't run out of VRAM. It's not a bad GPU. It just gets bottlenecked by the VRAM on it. You don't really want to go with the 7600 XT to get 16 gigs because you're going to get less performance, and all you're going to do is kind of side grade a little bit for the VRAM. 6700 XT, same thing, although you do notice the 1% lows on the 6700 XT. They're higher than 3060 Ti because there's a couple of games, at least one game in here in their benchmark suite of 12 titles across a wide average at ultra settings that doesn't like 8 gigs of VRAM basically. And that's the kind of the future of a lot of these GPUs. So I wanted to jump up. Now we could go all the way off this chart to a 7800 XT, which launches above the 4070 up there, but then you wouldn't get any of your other upgrades. So I went with the 7700 XT for 92 average FPS. Look at the 1% low, 79. Already higher than you're getting right now on the average FPS. So I think this is going to be a great upgrade for you at 1080p. Again, you can decide, of course, if you want to pick up a different GPU instead and you want to spend all your money there, you can. I'm just trying to fit this in your budget, and I think this is a pretty good upgrade. But let's talk about your storage situation and your motherboard, because I decided to keep your motherboard, and it is a little bit of a headache. I will agree with you there. The problem with the B350 boards is I had to get in here into the support. So I actually looked at the manual for the motherboard, and unfortunately the rest of those slots, I thought there was going to be at least one more PCIe Gen 3 slot. However, I was wrong. They are all PCIe Gen 2. This is an old board. So I was going to drop in an M.2 card in there that you can put the M.2 on, but they're all going to run at PCIe Gen 2 speed. That kind of seemed weird. So instead, what I decided to do is I decided to go with a SATA drive. Now, if you watch our best SSD for gaming, there's really no difference. I'm going to have you keep that 500 gigabyte Crucial P3 as your main system boot drive. We're going to get a 2 terabyte SATA drive in here. You're just going to add it in through a SATA cable. Should be super easy. Barely an inconvenience. And you're going to get 2 terabytes of storage. I want you to move everything from your hard drive and that 500 gig system drive to here. You're going to still keep that NVMe as your system drive, and then just basically dump all your games and everything on here. Should be plenty of storage for you. Absolutely plenty of storage. Pretty good drive, TLC on the NAND, and it's got an SLC cache to it. So it's pretty 2 thumbs up in terms of its overall performance. Again, for gaming, no FPS difference, maybe like a half a second in terms of loading times. Nothing you're ever going to notice with just standard gaming. For the cooler, I got you the updated version of the Cooler Master Master Liquid ML240L ARGB version, $59 right now over at Newegg. And it's a better cooler. It's a slightly redesigned cooler. It's going to look great in that case. And for the case, listen, we couldn't afford the case. I was really trying to get you that NZXT case you wanted. I'm going to get you a case that I think super cool, tons of airflow, and I think it looks nice too. That's the Phanteks XT Pro Ultra. $69 for these cases right now. You get 4 ARGB fans. This is just a great case. Phanteks is kind of knocking it out of the park with these things, and it's going to get you the upgrade that you need, which is the airflow on that thing. You're going to top mount that cooler. Overall, 2 thumbs up. So for what I hope is like more like $589 or $599 once those promo codes come back, we're going to get you an upgrade that's going to vault you back into 1440p gaming land. 2 thumbs up there. We're going to upgrade your storage situation while keeping the pretty decent feature set on your existing motherboard and not have to switch out the whole motherboard on you. And we're going to add a liquid cooler to this thing, so you're going to kind of bling it out. So I hope you feel like this upgrade is boosted. Goldmoon says, hi Jason, I'm looking to make a good 1440p gaming PC for under $900. Not a lot of money, but if you watch our best budget builds, we put together several of them for right around that price point and even less. They play Forza Horizon 5, Forza Motorsport 8, and Call of Duty. Any suggestions on how to change up some parts for more performance? All right, let's see what you got. No. I said stop doing this. Stop doing it. What am I talking about? You finished out at $931.61. So you're already $31.61 over your budget. What is this performance level here? It just does not almost even exist. This is like a $650 PC build. Let's start with the GPU. You got the RX 7600. I had to stop myself from saying XT there. Why would anybody get the 7600 8GB GPU for $260? It's just a terrible GPU for this price. If they sold it the same price as the 6600, like under $200, I'd say, hey, pretty good GPU because that's all you can afford. But we need more. We need more VRAM at this performance level, at this budget level, right? You get an 8GB GPU if that's all you can afford. We can afford more. This is an absolute no-go. Nothing with less than 8 gigs of VRAM, especially for $260. Here's our problem is we decided to go with this crazy AM5 platform idea that we're going to build AM5 right now, and at some future date in the future, we're going to then upgrade the GPU and then we'll have good performance. When is that going to be? Like 2 or 3 years from now? What are you going to do? You're going to basically have garbage tier performance for 2 or 3 years so that at some point in the future, then you can have better performance. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Get good performance now and then let the future take care of itself, honestly. But this is an absolute no-go. Massive overkill on the cooler. That being said, it's only $34. I don't really mind this cooler. It's a high performance cooler. It just is a little bit of an extravagant expense right now when we're already starved for GPU resources. Motherboard, this is a $140 motherboard. I'm not sure why we went ATX, micro ATX. I don't mind this board. I know people keep asking me this. We did our best Ryzen motherboard 2024 video. I didn't mention this board. The gaming version of this just looks nicer to me, and I would spend the $10 for aesthetics. And I don't know what it is, but I hate these Radio Shack style heat sinks. I just can't stand them. They're not any better. They're not necessarily any worse than the nice looking metal ones to it, but $140, kind of a RAM mistake. I know what we're trying to do here. We're trying to save like $15 on the RAM to get under that mythical $900 price point, and we got 16 gigabytes of DDR5 5600 CL40. I don't understand. Either we should go DDR4 where we can go super cheap on the RAM, or spend the $10. It's like $10 more for a 32 gigabyte kit that's actually good speed, like 6000 CL32 or 6000 CL30. So we're not really saving ourselves any significant money, and we're just kneecapping our performance. I like the drive, Kingston NV2, although I have heard that they've changed out some components on this drive. Maybe that's a big deal. Maybe it's not. It's only $61 though, so I'm not going to fault you. There's a number of these kind of more budget tier PCIe Gen 4 and PCIe Gen 3 drives out there for around $61 for 1 terabyte. So good pickup. Montauk Sky 2, look, it's a good case. I do like these cases. Kind of interesting look to them as well. I will say though, this kind of got necessitated by our full-size ATX motherboard. We could have gone micro ATX here, gotten one of those micro ATX cases that I'm always recommending for almost half as much, and dump that money into our GPU. Power supply, listen, I believe this is C tier rated. I think I was recommending this for a little while the PSU market was total trash in terms of budget tier, but we have good budget PSUs in here now. We definitely don't want this one anymore. It's C tier rated. It's not the greatest. we can find something better. $931.61. I don't see $600 worth of performance here. So you can do better. We can do better. We're gonna do better. Here we go. I called this the $900 1440p build on AM5. You're like, Jason, I thought we weren't gonna build AM5. What happened? Well, we just did in our best budget build guide, I just did a build that's cheaper than this. I finished out at $899.77. So I finished like 33 cents below your budget. And I think we got a pretty good performance here. I will say, I think the AM4 one is slightly better because we finish out with a slightly better GPU, even though I think we're sometimes CPU bound in some titles. You can check that out there. I'll leave a link to that video down in the video description. It's like the $850-ish build. But let's jump through this. So let's say that we do want to keep that AM5 kind of upgradability, and we still want good GPU performance at 1440p rather than what we were getting. Here's what I would do right now, and it does depend on getting some good deals, because let's start with that GPU. I went with the RX 6750 XT for $299, and this is at Amazon. Now here's the deal. Newegg keeps selling these 6750. They're clearly trying to liquidate all of these GPUs, either the 6700 XT or 6750 XT. Get 6750 XT if you can for about the same price because it's slightly faster at $299. As soon as Newegg runs out of stock of those, they just swap the deal to the next one and the next one, just liquidating these. And as long as Newegg doesn't run out of stock, Amazon is matching them. So as Newegg runs his stock, Amazon raises the price. So you're just gonna have to hunt and peck and pick this GPU up as quick as you can. These are phenomenal performance GPUs. Let's talk about that phenomenal performance. Right now, you are gonna get the RX 7600 non-XT GPU. This is actually the 7600 XT review by TechSpot again, 12 game average at 1440p. But there it is, 64 average FPS, what you were looking at a second ago. Instead, we're gonna bump that up to 76 average FPS. And on top of that, we're gonna get 12 gigs of VRAM. And honestly, we're only spending like 40 bucks more for the GPU. It's an insane value, absolutely insane value. Fortunately, the 7600 XT would be your next step up. To look at a 3060 12 gigabyte, that would be my alternative there. Although, you know, obviously left overall performance doesn't feel really great just to get the extra VRAM. So I'd probably go 7600 XT if I can't get one of the either 6700 XT or 6750 XT, which is again, 6% faster than the 6700. Now here's the deal. We have seen enough price cuts on everything else that we can get this build done now for right around that $900 price point. So we're gonna go with the Ryzen 7600, forget the X version, it's a $15 cost savings. You could actually on this, if you don't turn on Precision Boost Overdrive, you could actually use the included Ray Stealth cooler. That cooler is gonna make a lot of noise though. But I do want you to turn on PBO. That's why we're gonna just for 18 bucks, we're gonna get the id Cooling SE214XT ARGB cooler. Great little cooler, all the performance that you really need out of that 7600 or 7600X if you decide to go that route instead. You can get it black, you can get it white, you can even get a non-RGB version if RGB bothers you for some reason, and it's only 18 bucks. For the motherboard, I went with the ASRock B650M Pro RS. Now there's also a Wi-Fi version of this for like 20 bucks more that you can go with instead. It's important that we go micro ATX here because, spoiler, we're going a cheap micro ATX case to get you more performance here and squeeze in and not overspend on our PC case. This board is a phenomenal board. First of all, it doesn't look like garbage. I'm sorry, I don't like that MSI. I don't like those heat sinks. It has 3 M.2 slots on it. It's got a thing for M.2 Wi-Fi on it. It looks nice. It's got a great VRM on it. You can eventually put a 7800 X3D or 9800 X3D, whatever they come out with next on it, for only $129, insane value. For the RAM, we spent the 10 bucks and we got a DDR5 6000 CL30 kit that's 32 gigs of RAM. Again, only $10 more than the crap kit you were gonna buy that's only 16 gigs. Here it is, and it's all black. The RGB modules, of course, they're about $15, maybe $20 more if you want to go that direction instead. Otherwise, this is great stuff. For the case, I kind of feel like I've been a broken record with the BitPhoenix Nova Mesh and the Deepcool CC360 ARGB. Those are two great cases. I decided to find something else for about the same price. The Sama ARGB Q5. You can take your pick of any three of those right there. I'll leave them all linked down in the video description. Another good case, 3 included ARGB fans. It looks nice, got a nice PSU shroud to it without the cutout, so you don't have to worry about a sticker or anything on the PSU showing. $55, really hard to beat. And of course, for the PSU, I don't know what's gone on with an EVGA replacement out there. EVGA used to be the lowest seller good units out there for the PSUs. Right now, MSI is picking up the slack. I love the MSI Mag A650BM. Now with those, like the 6750 XT, you will definitely need at least 600-ish watts. So that's why I went 650 here. If you go with a 7600 XT, you probably could get away with spending $10 less on the PSU, but it's only $10, so just get the 650 watt. So again, you can check out the AM4 build where we actually go with a 7700 XT instead for $50 less than what we're doing here. But let's do this. Let's go AM5. AM5 with a decent GPU for only $899. Going to get you way more performance. We're going to get you enough VRAM in 2024 that you can play at 1440p. So hope you feel like your build is boosted. As always, we've got both builds linked down in the video description, so check those out for current pricing and availability in your region. And if you got value out of this video, hey, give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, subscribe, click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. Speaking of cool content, if you want to see that build on AM4 where we finish at $850 and had an RX 7700 XT 12GB GPU, check it out right here. We go through some amazing budget gaming PC builds. It's an insane time to build a budget gaming PC. Check it out, and we'll catch you on the next one.